Hello, welcome to Anime Mystics. I'm Roman, and tonight I am watching the Junji Ito Collection, Episode 10. So, last episode, the first part of it dealt with an artist, a painter, who was having a exhibition, or an exhibit. I don't know, one of the two. I can't remember what the name of it is. My memory sucks if you haven't been able to tell. So, anyway, they're at a show, and he's talking about how he found a model that he loves to draw, loves to paint. And while he's talking with these people, he notices a woman who's looking at one of his paintings. And he walks up to her, and they start talking, and he's... I think she mentioned something about being his new model. Like, wanting to be his new model. I believe it's the next day, or even like maybe a day or two later. He's in his workshop, doing a new painting, and this woman from the other day shows up in his house. I believe it's his house. That's where his workshop is located, and basically talks about how he was tired of working with this model and he wanted to make her his model, which made the other woman angry, and she stormed off. And so he basically had no choice but to use her, this new woman named Tomie, as his new model. Not that he really cared. He wanted her as a model anyway. He just didn't want to, I guess, do it like that because he had a history with this other woman. I don't know. But anyway, she starts going on about how she's had many artists try to paint her, and none of them have ever been able to capture her beauty. Maybe only 10%. And he's pretty confident that he can create a painting that captures her true beauty. When he finishes, he calls her over, to look at it, and she just laughs and starts going on about how it's horrible, doesn't even capture hardly any of her beauty, and basically leaves, saying that she thought he was going to be the one to be able to do it, but oh well, and then just leaves. And he's losing it, basically. He is trying to find her because all he wants to do is paint her, and he's doing paintings when she's not there, but none of them are turning out right according to him. And then he's at a bar where he's talking with this other, I'm assuming, artist, who brings up this other guy, a sculptor, who has a new model. And he's basically locked himself in his house doing sculptures of her for a new show he's going to have. So he goes over there because she shows him a photo of her, and it's Tomie, but she has this other face or head coming out right here. But he doesn't even mention it. But he goes to this sculptor's house, and basically asks to see her. And he refuses. He refuses to show the statues because they're only for him. He's not doing the show anymore. But the guy breaks in and kills it. Hits him in the head with one of his like a portrait sculpt, and he just killed him. Goes into the other room, sees all the sculptures broken, and then sees Tomie in the room, and then she goes over to him, and he says he wants to paint her again because he's positive he can get her beauty on the canvas. So they go back to his place, and he starts painting again. And when he's done, he shows her, and it's a painting of her, but with the other head. And she definitely didn't like that. Starts yelling, and he ends up cutting her up, like, in pieces. But apparently, she can't be killed because he cut her into a lot of different pieces, and they just started growing new, like, Tomies. Like, each of them became a new her. That's where it ended. The second half dealt with this couple who had, well, their car broke down in like a wooded area, and they were looking for help to see if they can use a phone so that they can get maybe a tow truck or even somebody out there who can help them fix their car. And they come across these kids who are hiding in this kind of like I don't know what you would call it, but it's like some area where you would have like horses, not really a barn or a stable, but it's a lot smaller than that. They ask them if they have a phone, and they say no, they don't have phones, and like, oh, okay, and they leave. But the kids are following them, and they actually come running up on the girl and whip her with like vines that have thorns on them, which like cut up her. I think it cut up a little bit of her neck, and then they went and tried to suck her blood. They got away, and they found this town. It was like an abandoned, basically a ghost town. And I am thinking to myself, why are you even here? Just leave. I know you're trying to find somebody, but this place is abandoned. But apparently it wasn't completely abandoned because there's one person living in the town. I know this because he says himself that he's the only one living there. Invites them in because she's got a cut on her neck, so he's offering to patch her up. They have dinner. I think he asks to use a phone, but he says he doesn't have any. And even if he did, I don't think the phone lines would work in that town. And he starts talking about how this guy's girlfriend reminds him of this woman he loved, who would constantly talk about how she was always going to be alone. And then I believe she tried to kill herself by cutting her throat. She cut a little bit, but he ended up stopping her. And then started like sucking on the wound to stop the blood. And then the next day, she had I don't know, like these little, almost like little branches coming out of her neck with like these round red orbs at the end of them. As it turns out, she was turning into what I guess would be considered a blood plant because she started basically drying up and turned into a giant bush with these big red orbs at the end of them, which he says is basically just containing her blood because it's like a blood fruit. And then he offers to have them stay the night because it's getting late, which they take him up on. Excuse me. I forget why the guy got up, but he was looking for something and ends up finding a room that was basically nothing but that blood plant. He was looking for his girlfriend. I remember that's what it was, because she wasn't in the room when he woke up. It's a little too late for her. She wasn't in the room. She was back in their room, but she had the branches coming out of her neck. But the guy told them that they were going to end up like that, and there was no way to escape because they were just going to end up back there. Because he had got cut too on his hand, and the guy patched him up, and he was getting one of those on his hand. It turns out some of these like branches or bushes, every single one of them is a person from the town. And they apparently can still communicate, because one of them was talking to him, telling him that he needs to leave. Well, they need to leave because he's going to end up in this room as part of the plant. And I guess he asks if there's a way to fix what's happening to them. Like, the two of them, not the whole plant. And the guy tells them that the only way to fix it is if they take one of the fruits and drink the blood from it. From themselves. But if they do that, then they're just going to be craving, like, blood or flesh or something. I think it's just the blood from other people. And it ends with them, like, in the middle of the clearing outside of the town. And his girlfriend is drinking one of the plant fruits. And then it ends. Neither of them were really scary or creepy. It was a little creepy at the end of the painting one because of her becoming, like, her pieces becoming separate beings. But, yeah. Again, I have no idea what they're going to do in this episode, because I don't watch the preview, if there even is a preview. And, I don't really know his stories. They're all separate stories, so it's hard to even try to guess what they're going to do. But anyway, let's get into this episode. The video is going to be located over here, and the link to the reaction is going to be in the description down below. And we're going to start this episode in 3, 2, 1.